Hey, so this is Clio Isadora, a UK cartoonist. There's an interview on my channel with Clio, and she has done a bunch of comics. This came out with Avery Hill a couple of years ago now. So this is really worth picking up. She has a bunch of quite a stack of stuff actually. Um, but I'm mostly today. I'll flick through everything. We're here, so we might as well. Nice little drawing she did for me a few years ago. We've hung out a few times, not to brag, but she's pretty cool. So she does a series called Damp Candy, and I think these are all out of print now, but don't worry if you're a completist, because I'm sure at some point there will be a collection. But really, this is the one to get. You should just turn off this video or pause this video now and just order this directly from her, because you won't regret it. So Is It Vegan Ever Dimensions? This was the first print run. This sold out, and then a few years later she did a second print run with a few more additional pages. And it's such a short and in-depth comic, but it's perfect, and it's also so hard to describe because it feels like a fever dream. Basically follows Cleo growing up with two parents who, again, I'm trying to be really respectful, and I think with comics there's it feels weird to talk about someone's life, but they have put it on the page, so I hope none of this sounds really condescending. She'd probably prefer if I showed the new edition, right? Oh, that's so embarrassing that I got her to draw in every single copy. But also, like, I don't really care because her stuff's great. So it follows her growing up with two parents who believe in a lot of things that you'd be embarrassed to tell your friends on the school playground. So this opens with, I read that my mum believes she was once an insect on Venus. Apparently, that's where she met Insect Jesus. And her parents refuse to give Cleo vaccines, and she's in school worrying about that. This talks about reincarnation, being abducted, taking her to UFO conventions when she was a child. What will happen to her bunny rabbit? What will happen when people, come one day and there's a war? And it just fills her with all these horrible worries growing up, not knowing what's real and what's not. And she has to, differentiate what her parents are telling her to what the rest of the world is essentially telling her. And I really sympathize with this, because I've had friends who, when I was a lot younger and more impressionable, people I trusted, looked up to, they would tell me things and show me evidence which would make me agree with them, and then I found out it was all not true. But it creates a huge sense of fear of what's to come, And do you look at what's to come in a, you're going to believe it, or turn away and maybe that will be at your detriment? But yeah, this, I think I've said a few times, this was like my favorite mini comic of whenever this came out, 2019 or something. I don't think it says. Yeah, 2019. It's incredible. Pick this up. And these are her other books. She's got a book upcoming with Avery Hill. So this is probably the most easy to get if you live in the States. And I think all these are pretty much bar one or two impossible to get. But I'm going to do a quick flick through because I know what it's like to look at earlier work. I just feel like Clio has a really interesting way of seeing the world mixed in with her life experience, and the combination just creates such a great final product. There's a lot of humor in her stuff as well. As dark as it sounds, there is a lot of humor in her work. These are all Riso printed. I believe this is her most recent of the Damp Candy series. This is when she works for this insane, ridiculous boss who, we've all had fucked up bosses, and this guy is no different. It's just so unbearable to be around. But she retells it in such a funny way. Like I was laughing my head off when I read this on the bus. It's so funny. Just like he pretends to have a Geordie accent, which is a Newcastle accent, using like colloquial terms to try and win over this person that he's cold calling. Something about that is just so funny. I'm not even gonna try and do the voice. Oh, it's so funny. It's like one of my favorite panels ever in a comic. Yeah, he's disgusting. It's kind of like she's found a way of like, something that was horrible and finding a lot of humor in it as well. This is a story where the character is selling used socks to people online. And again, there's that perfect mix of kind of disgust and humor. Just the layout of the pages as well is just always really interesting. Always really creates kind of it's like the camera's kind of tilting as the Titanic is sinking a bit, and creates this sense of kind of nausea. This is me being a nerd and just being like, can you sign my comics, please, Clio? As we're just about to hang out and get a coffee. But she's really decent and doesn't make me feel like an embarrassing friend slash fan. Yeah. But just really nice, really interesting, unique, a really unique voice in comics. So much. I feel like in comics you're always meant to say like really nice supportive stuff, but there is so much boring stuff in comics. Clio is a very unique, refreshing perspective. Her experiences put into comics, whether some are, fantasy or not, or exaggerated, I don't know, but they're really good. This is about her time in art school, or at least the character's time. I think that's important to differentiate. Character's time in art school. Oh my god. Just keep embarrassing myself with how much I love Clio Isadora's work. But yeah, interacting with really posh students where mum and dad always help them out financially. Drug use, OCD. Is that someone? Yeah. I think when we did our interview, she was in the middle of working on this book. Yeah, so check her out. Clio Isadora. Great cartoonist and really nice person. Thanks.